Okay, this recording is going to go on Screech Consulting, Wyatt's YouTube channel. I think I'll just make this recording for D and V, Natasha, Constitution, because there's just a ton of shit that I wrote that I guess I would really like to record, but instead of just recording, I want to explain what I wrote. It starts with a case of an idea for a television show called If You Were That Smart, or I guess If You Were This Smart, which I guess would be similar to like a Gordon Ramsay television show where he comes in and, tries to kind of like Hotel Hell, like redo all the shit that's done wrong. But if you were this smart, and it's kind of like, how could or what would you do? How could you in your situation if you were that smart? Or what would you do if you were in that kind of placement and you don't have, the necessary tools or resources to use how smart you are? But someone comes in and like totally looks around, probably like if it was him, look around the room at like the people and like your workspace and kind of like judge them like, because really you're just trying to get your job done. So would you watch it? Then there was something about the Once Upon a Times Foundation founding father suffering from overkill in the army, and how undulation, placebo, delucigen can be used to treat those suffering from the condition bloody duality. The definition of undulation is one coincide a rising and falling in waves, emissions, remissions, waves, or it can be to a wave-like motion to and fro, or elastic medium propagated continuously among its particles, but with little or no permanent translations of the particles in the direction of the propagation. Vibration. And that's just like unsanctionable request. You do more killing than can be sanctioned, which I did. And then I guess I mentioned the whole hybrid people, hermaphrodite, intersex, lesbian, Mormon. Don't ask, don't tell. But I guess I did that later on. So I called the Department of Justice, the Administration of Justice. I called the Community Office of Cops in DC. I called the FBI. I asked them, I couldn't reach anybody but the FBI. I had to leave messages because they said they were closed. Like the service was closed down. But while we were in Afghanistan, we went to like Hobby Lobby, And they told us that the community office of cops, they have one there, like they have in the United States, but the police were extinguishing their that establishment, and like they told us that like they're all ISIS, and if we run into any of them, like try to get into contact with some of the people who are like fighting the militia, like the Saudi Arabian military. But that's just all but none. So, but they did tell us that out there. So I asked them, I was like, local informants gave us notice that, that's, and I asked, can or will this become a problem on home soil? And I asked to get a filament processed, because I went on later, and I'm going to read that real quick. To earlier, later on. How badges work. And mine is 1159. Double V or WHY. Because I had this dream last night, and it's just like what I was gonna finish reading there. But I had this dream about one of those locking mechanisms, and I woke up and I just had to write, take a lesson from the master. In terms of technology, it should only be able to return its shape backwardly and rotationally. Because in the dream I said, I don't even deal with these. And that's meaning like it should look like it's facing towards what's behind it, not what's towards in front of it. So to speak, an adversary that only retreats is the only one that you can formally form an ally with, seeing as how an armory is the only level of protection that ultimately can be justified. Deflectors are issued at the transition between cops to Federal Bureau of Investigations transfer process of draft training, and the highest but only level recognized as the lowest rank are those who make it all the way through and are at first promoted to soldiers, and then appropriated titles are given before they are even considered as candidates for the final point of progress, which is freed to deployment, at which point during preparations there becomes absolutely no failure down to the smallest nano-sized difference in performance on the most macrocosmos mega length of active time working this job, still able to result back to square one in an attempt to harmonize what has not yet found permanent unity. And that is about us, insignia enlistment in the Army military to brass. Anything more I am not at liberty to disclose details of, or speak on at this time, although ourselves are dictatable, and it is our responsibility to perform actual acts of heroism. So the whole putting it together to make it look like it, I feel like that's really easy to do. So I Oh, I say I put that in questions and comments because we'll serve in the war and on the top of the food chain. And I don't really give a shit. But for people that give a shit about me, like Natasha, the Wild Power, who can go by Cornella, the balanced, not balanced. I don't like that. I made a recording before about mucus and maggots. But I also said something because it said, such as her primal last wishes were to live. So she made a child to carry on her legacy from another man. Then I wrote, I am a nocturnal. I'm a volunteer on the nocturnal schedule. I do tours and twos. And the Gray Market Research Laboratories and the Campaign for a Cure for Measles firm. Right now, I may as well count myself in regarding authority permission slip number 1, Wolf Genealogy, MI60STP4. Clearance 6, 0 survivor. Plan for train, Mission Impossible. Ordnance reinstatement, SOS shoot on site authorized, permission to fire, differentiating, hibernating. I'm on respite for government and military officials' inception. I really don't want to get right back to this shit. But I might really have to get right back to this shit. It sucks. Because, like, a bungee away is, someone standing in. I'd really like this to just stop. The pursuit to just come to an alright halt. Those that need to surrender to just go ahead and make it easy on the rest of us. And then I got bored and I wrote, in parentheses, times F equals 3, less than equals atypical, which equals a miracle. And I was making it like multiple choice. Because you get bored. I keep finding that this is not working and I'm going to take another new approach. So is that true? Is that false? Is that mist, M-I-S-T, or is that all of the above? The correct answer is A. True. Stipulating a compact, divisively storing the annotation CD when compounded in error. And the system indicates a preposition, a transition, a parallel hypotenuse cube within the central circuitry of the unadulterated. Someone is making a scene like a year ago. This is the introduction. Innocence ejects it. Minimalism of macro frequency and persistent consistence. Upward of the baseline quadrant plus sign 4 horizon of thinking, whereas A. mirror proxies and distance to the graduated measure of the aging reflexive hyperaugmentated eliciting E beta test projection meta exists. Newly produced gamma inherent C chromatony muscular molecular microbular muscularized at 7 times the galaxy of the stopwatch with a 12 and 1 hour later passes involuntarily to make up for D direct eat everything. But I fail accumulates reward to a half battle is 100% of the self-oppressor. And cynically G good riddance to the rest of us. The cloud pump run come and start things. So I guess I made that because that was the broken down of like the Vietnamese tragedy when I got shot in the head, how my body looked at it. I got really mad. I didn't get really mad. I was withdrawing. I got mad at when I said some nasty things to her. I'm gonna read what I said. Oh, there's some other shit that I could read. Oh yeah, that's gold. Right there. Army soldier non-commissioned Master Chief Admiral Lieutenant. It was the last time they could press revive. They could not hit the button again. Let me show you how to live. They did die. Deceased. File does not exist. Gone forever. Okay, it's crunch time. This was said and done. Classified upon the process. Recognition system subjugated original films to measure correct. Count for your actions. Sir, I don't know how I'm going to be able to explain the scene. You can brace yourself. You can not be told. Please, you have to pay attention. You may not know. Good luck. What the fuck? What the fuck? Secret Intelligence Service. Co-op. MI6. The fruit punch is poison that bowl. Said I will never be the same. INC present. I don't really know why I said this. FYI, I see why. Why will we ever do that again? Then ask why again. Say why twice. I'll scream why? Scream why? I'll still turn my back on this tragic. Are you? Tragic. Anything that is I should know about because I have other guys that are not cops that will submit you an MID. You know, men in black movies. Are there any files in this vehicle I should know about? Is there anything other than trafficking? Why? Is there anything other than what should to be found on you? Am I making myself clear enough, or are you this horde? I'm speaking with me yet. Why is your heart beating like that? I do not have to call in to check. He will say yes or no if I ask. He understood me. Is no life, no soul stands before us. Before yet he comes here, let me say once, twice, why? Please, God Almighty. If this Yeti comes here, you know we are all dead. Me and all of us. So, one man. In between the legs, let's see that tail. Can you imagine a magic Wi-Fi hairy man appearing half himself that prefers the cold? Let's get straight to the point. Devil may cry, never mind. A man named Wyatt from Waikiki having to come here and settle this for us. Your time is running out. The world is out here for the taking. Nothing for the taking. It's like I'll make you do this. I'm picturing a helicopter right now. You were red lights before I show me your left and right on your stomach now. Show me the ID so I can check. Show me your identification card. I'll make him do it. Or unless he wants to. Really, It's American. Oh, inoculation services, what not to take, narcotics not to use afterwards, self-thought, list of drugs to get sprayed. Said if ever a time when I call her baby, steal and rob me. If ever a time when reels of manual entries and records may be procured from myself as sources I wish to testify against those who committed war crimes. Self-explanatory request, plausible deniability, preconceived notions, active online networks, potential timelines, dimensional intercontinental universal expressway, DOS, HTML, GSM, destination of operator. Didn't I read this already? No. Smart Talk, Man Mobile, Telestar, Genetic Signature Network. Technician basic format for the 4 cubic and a cartridge and catalog magazine, hierarchy of information, entry, technician card synthesis, coordinates, cognition. What to expect, file, genetic signature network, TRA, the responsible act, contract, general finalization, brass to service, habeas corpus, consumer culprit, conclusion, life expectancy, professional advisory advice. I did already read this. No. So I got hit by this car, but before that I got shot in the head. I had to report. I have the ability with control of abilities, succinct physical by division and re-entry of at all, any one or another, every or none, and on or at my command, or not to, empowered to tell you, give you the notification that I am possessing this attribute now, reference organization bide for your information from my file, Secret Agent Y, Undercover Cops, Boss, Unknown Complex, Final Judgment, Reserve, Protected Personal Phone. Get my job done as a statement, blah, blah, blah. I got my red book, stats, and pocket doctor back. I was brought in from my position with the Once Upon a Time Foundation extractionally by the brass to serve in a never-ending campaign. I have a body count on my record that totals the quest calendar's requirement to cross our engagement with war off our list. I'm getting older, my son, as your founding father. Please assist me now in why it's possible, that why it is we were working is why it's helping to be why it happened. I feel in my mind that of which wishes to do only what my body used to do. It describes the beginning of retirement. I used to say, not as long as I'm alive, to perishes. I am no longer able to fear this consequence at all. I'm sorry I had no time to stand by. It truly is too bad to those of you who have honored your commitment to fight alongside me that still carry on. It was a sadness in summer and mayhem to witness your greatness. All has not been lost. To the few, the proud, and the brave, the story of a long time ago, cannot fight, cannot figure. It is the makeup in your liver. Today we turn our back in remembrance of those who have fallen. The moment we did it. Have a happy new year. Story new year. Authorized. This is the very beginning. This is the story. Authorized by combat recon drones for manual action. Input stay and release from 0 to none. Not one of the only gods at a ratio of 1 and none. discoverable only chance at surviving the Mayan Holocaust calendar to have authority itself for the purpose of inventory unrevived, undied, or deceased, either die, EYE, including Y, or formerly violate 425, was granted a permission slip. The currently known as United States resident Social Security number 0.9886618, Wyatt'Siberia, had already diverted his path from the evident eventuality of life itself and bore himself a slave to the tombstone itself in the promise that by today, the first grand year of 2017 Y2K, the second grand count century is concluded, now at a 1 by 1 extras by share and pass on only for the month of December and the 12th, no matter how anonymous champion s equals 0 to none, not one of the only gods at a ratio of 1 and none discoverable would die, be dead, or experience the semen-drenched, pornographic tumbled weed, infested garbage of missile launches and stolen property, as well as parasitical eyes, effectively and spinning out of control in a spatial drift, all and any passages included unsalvageable, but the process of may occur or appeal to that is credentially safe to say, and by a show of doubtless hands, to be true, has been family life as we know it, and concur according to this, to reporting this incorporately. I report, although throughout the turn of time and the torture in which it has fractioned upon me, all throughout the world, and volatile stability and outer or inter upon surfacing or floating, walking, climbing, even flying, struck me on ground, plagued and preciously deceived, weapon to an under fire puncture or lacerated on war tour after the other. Fear not, as I do not, I have never found that I have let that ordinary writ perform the final. This has never been the case. On the premise of this is I, my, and I write, and do say, and all wit, whim, and extend my vow. Nothing but honesty of the very gypsicid, beginning, originationalating. Context of this is of the file for self. It will never be again, and I am not held by any thought that being a collected past. Missing in action. Virgo unknown straight question. That is a common reference to the overkilling of it, so it's sanctionable but not actually missing in action. Pilot, spark, question separation. More about it. Role play. Story mode campaign, missing any history. End symbol, so 2K, private contract. Con artists, quite the bunch. Undercover lobbyists, look at them. Half of them have no matching identities, and the other half's wives aren't in the army. It's not very fucking fun, but it's fucking lovely. Oh, this is what I said to the, excuse my language. Old Poison is over there. She's been dying to sell it. She is in the Navy SEAL. She actually has to die to provide it to us. Really, she looks like a man. She's always looking for someone to fool around with. Recently, I found Death, the medic, Poison. Since she learned to love again and again, career not to kill all of us. She's got a kid now. Their vitality. It might be best for you to just stay away from them. If you haven't been previously invested to do, or at the age of 42 by the legal limit at age of 21. Thank you, the government, orphans, foster care, Miss Foster soldiers. Well, the woman's older than nails. The kid's 13. She's 2. Found herself a family. Good luck is all they ever gave us. He gave me a whole lot more than just all of the ground we've ever stood upon. Plus, put killing in the grave more good than 4 times understanding. Doesn't hesitate to move on. Says at the top of where he's placed in charge of a medical medical supervision. Although I am reassured, love you, man. I'm going on wide on this one. Point of getting picked off, sacrifice to stay, or you are now a commissioner. You're now a commissioner. Joker, Cornella. Food drive, blah, blah, blah. Director, disattentiated and contrassociated, subjective, subjected for subjective behaviors, distrust, abuse, cruelty. Why in Death Vitality, December 23rd, November 16th, 11:59. Why? Connection, yes or no? Umbrella. I told her, Robin Babies, you are Robin Babies. You are not going to wreck my home again. Robin the Cradle at 26. Cradle Canal. Bring a crucifix. Ain't there someone out there named Robin you can arrest? Some 911 scammer. I said, Jesus, 211 and 611. My friend at the hospital and the station and a drug dealer. To bring this to the United Kingdom and certify this stamp Navy steals included some Nicaraguan general is being fucked with. You're not. I told you, you're like the Queen of Alibaba, a #1 most wanted by FedEx, Binkos, and Kinkos. You've got trail, check the box that applies to you, the single-handed body count, message. Records indicate this is true. We are eligible to quit. If I turn my back, they fall trapped in my suit. No more. Red, Resident Evil deceased. Foundation and establishment to civilization, system level, local affairs, formal definition of prostitution, community office of cops, administration of justice versus Department of Corrections, issue deflector for protection of brass index, representative of the table of contents of the Constitution, not proceeding to Federal Bureau of Investigations training or transferred processing is a disqualification, violations and consequences, not issuing a suspension of privileges or permanent ban. A permanent ban, autoing your wings are clipped. It is considered grand theft. Walking around without a civilian uniform, your claws are clipped. See too close to polio. Also see greed, secondary. Apothecary and moderation versus hospitals and institutions. Procuration is done by a third party, disabling the species from evolving on a monetary basis. With enough specimenology and contagion in one area, just enough customers to spread hereditary measles. As well, see impersonation, Center for Productivity, Abuse and Neglect, and Cause and Effect, dealing with reactions, engagement, behavioral endeavorment. Point of vulnerability, domination, tell your peers to take action today, claim Wyatt'Siberia military, the Holy Spirit wine at mail.com. Mission requirement calendar alive by permit successful genetic signature network campaign Champlain steps required radioactive prescription obtained. The subs took the bus, equipped poisonous. Military charges dropped and planted into the ground. Style War II position of the second trainee. So just oh my god, it's just you won't want to receiver. Unitensile try receiver. Revival heal package presented still intact. Percent stuck still intact. Trent Charlie June all clears. Used for storage. If I give you this convoy key, do not unlock the cargo. Stay the art. Because there's only one life preserver per person, and this one belongs to me. Personal computer, have a happy new year. We have been fighting since this time. I have been gone long enough for you not to be able to remember me, like I am a figment of your imagination. You used to remember me to be on my own, alone again, and my body underwent regeneration. Material why as my lifeline has been enabled. The status is quo. Missionary completion. The subjective behavior analysis concludes that at the liberty of the entire general public at large, there is not more than one connection trustworthy, therefore all of whom this envelopes, resides within my cooperative attempt at invasion of my privacy and by the resourcefulness set forth by clinical. Right, that I myself, why very well may end up being the only living bodies apart from the dictionary and over. This has been a truthful and factual presentation of actual knowledge afforded by the efforts of our remaining company. I concur as a valuable report. The study of the following bookkeeping office environments is a testimony to our ability to maintain and take charge of medical supervision situations, 0 to none to 1 chance of necessary involvement in excessive retaliation from the consumer culprit leading to unavoidable existence and rotation of the Report request success stories, us on me, like Toys R Us, but like us, US-R-me. Us on me, the story of the kid that came with everyone and it turned out to be a lifelong memory. This should all be basically yesterday and today. Controller N36 scripted plugin, next gen 3 codec 6 upgrade, activate, initiate contract candidates. FYI, see why. For your information, see why. Anything questionable is false. Anything unclear, anything that can't be understood fails, it leads to no answer. Anything wrong or bad to be found here at all in the beginning, the middle, or the end isn't true. Not factual, cannot be used, needs to go now. There's cause for suspicion that for it to still be existing or have been an issue at all. Parental adultery. Ego, surrender to self. The other options challenged, a new approach. Backgrounds, tentatively violent, mature audience rated MAA 04 for mature audiences only. F filing, file for the first hybrid, file for the first hybrid species, who was the very first organism nowadays still living, breathing, and surviving. 101 info, study information AS as a specificamen. Files XXX files, the exactly yellow September blacker files, ESF, area or alone archaic, H hybrids, A hybrid, Y, W, Y, newly named Wyatt'Siberia, Yin Yang 1, file 8425 at mail.com. Permission to speak. We still have the abandoned Auschwitz site that could probably be repurposed. I was there recently. Caution to the wind. All be as it may, but it did appear to be denatured of its remaining image. Nazi concentration camps for possessed and contaminated German mankind. Bacteriated German. Siberia's mercenary under contract. Subjugated. The faculty member in charge of functional operations. World at War and on tour. WW3. Gradual avoidance maneuver plan. Seal suggestions. Actively posted at population control. Records indicate the actual or torment of the habitat was a two-part acronym unknown translation from the words harvest plantation that took place during draft training at World at War on Tour WWI, World War II in itself, that had to be sealed by the Navy SEALs. Do without paying, such as paying a time campaign without a loss, a diagnosis involving terminal discourse, clinical. Alright, well that's just about it. I mean, I just wanted to try to explain what I wrote, but I guess I kind of wrote enough.